ब्रेक तो बाद एक बार फिर तो आप सब का स्वागत है। तो हम गल करांगे कैनेडा दे नाल संबंधित कुछ खास खबरां दा। कैनेडा दे विच 2018 दे विच बनाए गए कैनबिस एक्ट दे रिव्यू लई 5 लोकां दा गठन कीता गया है। इस एक्ट नूं लागू करन दा मूल कारण लोकां दे सेहत संभाल लई है, जो अज दी तारीख दे विच गलत तरीके दे नाल वरतिया जा रहा है। इस एक्ट दा रिव्यू 2021 विच कीता जाना सी, पर कोविड करके टाल दिता गया है। इस दी समीक्षा दा मुख उद्देश इस एक्ट दीआं कमियां नूं पूरा करके इस एक्ट नूं सुरक्षित बनाउण दा होवेगा।
As you are aware, in October 2018, the Cannabis Act came into force. The objective of the Cannabis Act were twofold. First, it aimed to protect the health and safety of Canadians. Second, it provided for the establishment of a diverse and competitive legal industry made up of small and larger players to displace the illicit market. This balanced approach, with a focus on protecting public health and safety, guided the implementation of the Act. Since the start, parliamentarians have recognized the need for an early assessment of the government's new approach to cannabis control and included in the law a provision requiring a review. This is what is bringing us together today. The review will help ensure that the Act adapts to the current situation and continues to meet Canadians' needs and expectations.
There's a very narrow scope that is in the legislation that would be considered, speaking specifically to the impact of cannabis on youth and on Indigenous communities. And it was very important from a parliamentary perspective to say this ambit should be wider. We should have a much wider scope of the review and to ensure that we get this right. And from a parliamentary perspective, I would say we were very committed to advancing 3 objectives. One was in relation to ensuring that we were better addressing the illicit marketplace and empowering industry to tackle and undercut the illicit marketplace and to address any regulatory burdens on industry that burdens that are getting in the way of what ultimately is the goal, to displace the illicit market. 2, to ensure that we are empowering industry to deliver for patients and that we are removing obstacles to patient access and we're allowing for fair patient access in relation to medical cannabis. And lastly, to address the past criminalization and the harms and injustice of past criminalization. And you can think of this in a number of different ways, but other jurisdictions around the world, including south of the border, are better enabling individuals who have been criminalized in the past to participate in the legal cannabis marketplace. And so those were the 3 general ideas that we had in mind.
We knew that young people are at increased risk of experiencing harms from cannabis, such as mental health problems, including dependence and disorders related to anxiety and depression. But public education awareness activities have been and continue to be critical to this effort to increase the knowledge among youth. And I want to thank all the community groups and public health experts who are central to these efforts. Since implementation, our data shows that young people are more aware of the harms of consuming cannabis and that the usage has remained relatively stable since the enforcement of the Act.
But I think legislative reviews are really important, particularly important in a law which charts a completely new path from the one that preceded it. The Cannabis Act is really a dramatic departure from the prohibition and criminal law approach that was the way we dealt with cannabis for the past 100 years or so. This review can be helpful in examining how successful the legislation and the measures taken to implement it have been in fulfilling its public health and public safety goals and in enabling the establishment of a diverse, competitive cannabis industry.
उधर एटोबिकोक विखे एक अपार्टमेंट की बिल्डिंग दे विच 2 लोगों की मौत की खबर सामने आई है। देर रात चाकू दे नाल होए हमले दे विच 68 साला कलन हैनरी ते 67 साला वेरोनिका हैनरी की मौत दी हो गई है। इस हमले पिछे इन्हां दे पुत्र दा हाथ भी दस्सिया जा रहा है, जिस दी उम्र 28 सालां दी है। पुलिस वालों मुलजम नूं फर्स्ट डिग्री कतलां दे 2 मामलों दे विच दोषी होने के तहत हिरासत में लिया गया है। इस मामले नूं लैके पुछगिछ जारी है। दस दी कि इस मुलजम वालों एक होर व्यक्ति उत्ते भी हमला किया गया सी, जिस नूं पैरामैडिक्स वालों हस्पताल दाखिल करवाया गया। ਹੁਣ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਬੀਤੇ ਦਿਨੀ ਮਿਲਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਈ ਸ਼ੂਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਖਮੀ ਹੋਏ ਪੀੜਿਤ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਨਿਊਜ਼ੀ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਦਸੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ। ਇਹ ਪੀੜਿਤ ਐਮਕੇ ਆਟੋਮੋਟਿਵਸ ਦੇ ਫਰੰਟ ਡੈਸਕ ਉਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਸ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਿਆਨ ਪੀਟਰ ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਦੇ ਦਰਵਾਜ਼ੇ ਤੋਂ ਗੈਰੇਜ ਅੰਦਰ ਦਾਖਲ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਨੇ ਗੈਰੇਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਂਦਿਆਂ ਹੀ ਫਾਇਰਿੰਗ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਗੈਰੇਜ ਦੇ ਮਾਲਕ ਅਸ਼ਰਫ ਅਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸਤਵਿੰਦਰ ਦੀ ਮੌਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ।